أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. وبعد. Yesterday we took line 43 and 44 and we stopped with line 44 where it says إن تساويا العملان اجتمعا. شيخ in the منظومة القواعد الفقهية الشيخ السعدي عليه رحمة الله قال وإن تساويا في العمل اجتمعا. If they are equal, meaning if you have similar actions and they are equal or they are similar, then you could proceed to do one of them. Meaning you could combine the intention, combine the intention in one. He gave example here. He said you can make takbir, tasbih and tahmeed 10 times or 33 times after the salah according to to your liking. طبعا here in this case, if we want to combine the intention, what should we do? The 10 or the 33? 33, because if you want to cover both, you have to do the maximum. طيب, where is the 10 coming from? Hadith that is narrated by Ibn Majah and Abu Dawud and others that the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever says Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar 10 times after Salah, he said, قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, this dhikr has great reward but only few people who does it. You say Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar 10 times after Salah and 10 times before you fall asleep. If you do that, it will be count. The Prophet ﷺ says, he said it's 150 in count and 1500 in reward. How is that? Salah are 5 times a day, yes? So if you say Subhanallah 10 times, Alhamdulillah 10 times, Allahu Akbar 10 times, that's 30. 30 times 5, that's 150. Multiply that by 10, in reward that's 1500. Is that clear? Then he said, and if you say Allahu Akbar 34 times, Subhanallah, Allahu Akbar 34 times, Subhanallah and Alhamdulillah before you sleep, that will be what? How much is that? 33 and 34. 100, correct? He said that will be 100 in count and 1,000 in reward. So this great sunnah is one of the forgotten sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ to follow on. So do we understand what we mean by merging the intention or doing more than one action? If the action has some similarity, then we could combine the actions together. Tamam? If they could be combined. If the action is specified, then you can't combine it. If the action is specified, then you can't combine. طيب. قال وكل مشغول فلا يشغل مثاله المرهون والمسبل. He said that any engaged action, meaning by contract, and the one who's engaged in any contract should not be engaged by another. Like the example of endowment and or security. ماشي. Here, Sheikh Joe said, Al-mashghulu la yushaggal. Something busy is not busy. If you have something that is busy, you can't busy it with something else. How? Give example to make things clear, inshallah. If you borrow a car from someone, Okay? هذا رهن. Or if you take in a car for security reason, مثلا somebody owes you $10,000, so he gives you his car till you pay him the $10,000. Now the contract here is what? You're taking the car as security, like a security deposit. You cannot sell that car. You can't start a new contract because this contract is already busy with something else. Okay? هذا إيه؟ في الرهن. مثلا someone is working at a university from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and they're paying him from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Can that person do other jobs during that time? Why not? Huh? Because his contract is already busy. His work is, he's getting paid for the work, so therefore he cannot start something else during the time that he is already busy with that. He said here, a man cannot be proposed to the father of a woman already engaged. Why? Because she's already engaged. And the Prophet says, قال لا يخطبن أحدكم على خطبة أخيه. None of you should engage over his brother's engagement. So الرهن, مثلا, you rent someone your apartment and you wrote a contract, okay, for $500. Someone comes to you after 1 week and says, I want to rent your apartment. Allowed or not allowed? Why not? What if there's nothing written in the contract that says you cannot rent it to someone else? What if it's not? What if that condition is not written? Can you rent it to someone else? طيب, use the foundation. What could we say? It's busy already. Okay? We are engaged in a contract, so that keeps the action busy. So you can't add another action to it because it's already contracted. Is that clear? That's why you don't find hadith or ayah or مثلا in a contract is very clear that you can't do something. So you have to use the qawa'id to get to that to that level. Also with timings, sometimes some of the times are sometimes busy with actions that you cannot involve any other action. And that's what they call in usul al-fiqh al-wajib al-mudayyiq, obligation that are limited. There is obligation that has like some liberalism, in a sense, it's liberal, and some are restricted. Anybody knows example of each? Liberal mean that you have the time to do it and do other actions from the same category. Restricted means you're only able to do that action at that time and you cannot add to it any other action from the same category. Here you go, I gave you the definition. I know this is not qawa'id, this is not legal maxims, this is principles of fiqh, usul al-fiqh. So what are some examples of an action that, like a time where you could do something and actions from the same category during that time, and times where you could only do that action restricted to it. Here, I made it very simple. Yes?
Maybe one first example is dhikr. You can do
But dhikr is not wajib. We want something wajib, obligatory. Huh? طيب. Dhuhr time. Dhuhr time is from what? 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Let's just say that. So you have how many hours? 4 hours. Now in these 4 hours you could do what? Dhuhr. What else? Sunnah. From same category, of course. Sunnah, istikhara, traveling to rak'ah, entering them. So you could do in that 4 hours so many actions from the same category of the obligation. Now what are some times that are restricted? This is easy now. Huh? What do you mean Asr? No, Asr is not restricted. طيب, Asr. Asr is from 5 to 3. You could only do Asr. طيب, okay, what if I miss Sunnah al-Dhuhr? No, the time is flexible. You're talking about the time that is disliked to do actions. But still, there's liberal. Like, let's say, مثلا, you didn't pray Dhuhr. And Asr time came. Can you still pray Dhuhr? You're going to pray Dhuhr during the time of Asr. So it is liberal. Huh? Huh? After what? Fajr. After Fajr? No, same thing. Same thing. What if after Fajr you didn't pray the Sunnah before Fajr? You're still going to do it. Ramadan, fasting. We say the day of Ramadan is restricted to only Siyam Ramadan. Nobody could say, well, I had 2 days of the other Ramadan, let me make it up with. You say you can't merge them. They can't be mixed. طيب. What about Hajj? Do you think it's liberal or restricted? Huh? Hajj, they call it the double face. Hajj is liberal till you get to Arafah, becomes restricted. And مثلا, we have to stand on Arafah all the way to what? Maghrib, sunsets, yeah? We cannot do anything else with that from the actions of Hajj. You can say, oh, man, things are getting too hot here. I'm going to go down to Muzdalifah ahead of everybody at Asr time. You can't. Muzdalifah can't come into Hajj. So this is usul fiqh. I know everybody's looking at me like, why are we going into that? That's usul. That's fundamentals of fiqh. But now, طيب, he said, like al-marhun, security, endowment. Endowment means what? Anybody know the definition of al-sabl or al-waqf? Simple. I already told you this class is going to be simple. Endowment means what? Huh? In a sense, it's okay. It's something that you said for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you don't profit out of it. That cannot be gifted, that cannot be sold. خلاص؟ هذا هو الايه؟ That's endowment. Somebody says, this house right here, I'm giving it to Allah to be a masjid. He still owns it, it's his, it's under his name, but now it's what? A masjid. So if he dies, his children can't inherit it, they can't sell it, they can't rent it. Why? Because he waqafahu. He set it for endowment. Is that clear? So again, endowment is one of those examples that you cannot do what? You cannot busy it with something else. Why? Because it's already busy. You can't sell it, you can't buy it, you can't rent it, you can't inherit it. Why? Because it's set for whatever the endowment is for. طيب. قال ومن يؤدي عن أخيه واجبا له الرجوع إن نوى يطالبا. He said if someone or whoever fulfills an obligation on behalf of his brother, for him is a return if he intend seeking it. Let's put some conditions here. What does that mean? It means that if you pay for someone an obligation on behalf of that person, you must have an intention that you're doing it, intending to get it back from him, not as a gift. يعني مثلا, a person Muhammad owes Ahmed or owes Ahmed $1,000. I come and say, I am going to pay that $1,000 on your behalf. The intention of my intention should be what? One of two. It's a gift, so therefore I cannot ask Muhammad for it again. Or my intention is I am paying it on his behalf, and when I need it, I'll ask him for it. So intention plays a big role in this qaida, in this fundamental here. Okay? Bishart. With the intention, there's another condition that it cannot be one of those obligation unless you ask permission. مثلا, you have a friend. You know that his zakah money is $1,000. And that person didn't give out his zakah. Can you give his zakah? Can you give from your money on his behalf? Okay, zakah needs a specific intention or no? Yes. So first you have to ask permission. And if you do give it on his behalf, two things happen. What and what? What's the outcome? The brother was a lawyer, yeah? You told me? Okay, alhamdulillah. So that's something that law play a role in, very important. Two things happen here. If somebody come to you with a case like that, I paid, what's your name? Falan? Spell it. F-A-R-A-N. Faran. Okay. If I pay on your behalf $1,000 zakat, two things happen here if I don't ask you. I just went and I said, he owes $1,000, for the sake of Allah, I'm going to give it. What are the two things? What's the outcome of this? One, I cannot ask him back. I didn't give permission, he doesn't know. Two, it does not fulfill his obligation of zakat. So I wasted my money. That's why in a case like that, you must ask if it's one of the obligation. Yes? Huh? Wallahi, I can't hear you at all. My hearing is very low, so forgive me. MashaAllah. Oh, I could hear you, brother, very clearly, MashaAllah. The test was very clear. Bismillah. Jazakallah khair. Now.
If his zakat is not filled, do you still need to fill yours with another additional 1,000, or is yours filled with that?
Mine?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I have to do my zakat too. So you're gonna, let's say for example, your zakat is $1,000. His zakat is also $1,000. So you paid zakat on his behalf for him without telling him. So you fall into a problem now. Number one, his zakat is not paid. Two, you cannot get the $1,000 back from him. Three, that doesn't count as your zakat. So you're getting yourself in trouble. So if an obligation is requiring intention, you cannot do it on behalf of someone else until you get permission. But the thing is, obligations are two types. Obligations that are done by, like, physically, and obligation that is done financially. Okay? The physical obligation, no one could do it on behalf of someone else without his permission or with his permission, except siyam. Like for example, I know that Nasser, I know Nasser, so I'm going to pick on him in that one. Nasser didn't pray Asr. Okay, he's my friend. I cannot go and say, Ya Allah, this, now I'm going to pray Asr for myself. And I finish and I go, this is for Rak'ah for Nasser. Can't do that. Why? Because physical obligation is obligated per individual to fulfill it. Siyam, you still can't do it. The only time you could do Siyam if the person did what? Passes away. And you do it on his behalf when it's not Ramadan. There's like a complication, fiqh matter here. Hajj, can you do Hajj on behalf of someone else?
Yes.
We ask a question. Hajj, is it mainly physical actions or financial actions? Both. So therefore, it's more liberal. One, I could perform Hajj on behalf of someone with his permission if I did my Hajj. That's a condition. One. Two, what if the person passes away? You could do Hajj on his behalf if you did your obligatory Hajj. So you still could do it. Because Rasulullah ﷺ, when a woman came and she said, Ya Rasulullah, my father passed away and he didn't do Hajj. Can I perform it on his behalf? He said, if your dad borrowed money and he owed someone money, would you pay it on his behalf? She said, yes. He said, then pay the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first. Okay? I hope that is clear, inshallah. Sadaqah, yes. Sadaqah on behalf, but not zakah. But what about another vow? If someone vowed to fast 3 days, can you make it on his behalf? He vowed. Vowing is to say, I will do this if this happened. Okay? I will fast 3 days if I pass my classes. if I get married, I will fast 3 days. Well, if you get married, you're gonna fast the rest of your life. That's a different story. But no, not that the women don't know how to cook. And let's not get us in trouble, man. I'm saying you'll be fasting, thanking Allah for it. Just anyway, skip that part. So vowed, can you do it? Imam Ahmad in his fiqh says that vowing is a mean to take from someone's money out of that person being stingy. That's one of the means, because when someone vowed to do something and they don't fulfill it, it's like they're cheap. They don't want to fulfill, like when you tell someone, I'll pay you $100, then you don't want to pay him $100 because that's too much. So Allah takes from that person through those vows. So yes, you could make it on his behalf or even pay on his behalf. But with the intention of doing what? Telling the person first. You have to ask permission to tell the person. طيب, somebody comes to you. Think of this case. Somebody comes to you and says, let's get the sisters too, inshallah. Sister, I don't know any of your names. Sister Fatima borrowed $1,000 from me and she's your friend. Pay it for me. Would you pay it for them? Yeah? MashaAllah, sisters are very nice. They said yeah. Would you pay it for them? Or no? You have $1,000. You have 10,000 in the bank. Here you go. Would you pay that 1,000 for your friend? You would? What if the person who told you about the $1,000 is lying? طيب, let's say you did pay. You're nice and you said, here's the $1,000 that Fatima took from you. You go to Fatima and she said, Wallahi, I didn't even see that person in my life. Now she has to pay you back $1,000? Yeah? She has to or no? Fatima, not the person who took the money. No, she doesn't. So things that needs evidence or proofs, you cannot fulfill for someone else unless the evidence are proven. And this is very important. You can't just say, because he's my friend, I'm going to give you $1,000. No. Why? Because this is a debt. So there's an agreement. Where is the agreement? Mutual agreement has to be by writing. Verbal agreement has to be some witness out there. So if a person doesn't bring any of that, you're not obligated to pay. Even the person he claims that he took the money doesn't have to pay. Unless he brings what? Evidence. Is that clear, inshallah? Yeah? طيب. Let's see. طيب, someone lent a person, someone paid on behalf of someone else, and his intention was that it was a gift. After a month or two, he's in desperate need of that money, or he needs that money. Can he go to that person and tell him, I paid for you $1,000 a month ago, I want it back now? Why not? Why can't he change the intention? Huh? Because remember he said here what? فَإِنَّ وَالرُّجُوعَ. If he intend on getting it back, when? When he is giving. Not after a month. You see the difference now? Is that clear inshallah? طيب, alhamdulillah. قال والوازع الطبعي عن العصيان كالوازع الشرعي بلا نكران. I think this is the last line of the qawaid. He said والوازع الطبعي. The natural, it translated here as well. Deterrent. طيب, the natural deterrent to sins or wrong action is without any denial, like the legislative deterrent. Wazi' means that the person something prevents him, okay, naturally from committing the action. There is something evil out there, so his nafs tells him don't do it. He said it's like the legislative ruling, same thing. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the nafs to liking the halal and to dislike the haram naturally. There are people who don't do that. They're opposite of that rule. But the ruling itself is out there. مثلا, what are some of the legislative deterrent? Like what? Huh? Cutting off the hand if a person steals, yeah? Or any punishment because of a sin. Any punishment because of a sin is among these actions. You know, Uthman radiallahu anhu, he said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَيَزَعُ بِالسُّلْطَانِ مَا لَا يَزَعُ بِالْقُرْآنِ. He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stops or forces a stop of people through the ruling or the law more than the Quran. يعني مثلا, I'll ask you a question right now and be very honest please, okay? If you're in a rush to work, why do you stop at a red light? And be honest. Yes, don't lie. Be honest. Why do you stop at a red light? Huh? Most of us, I am one of them. You don't know how I drive, okay? If the speed limit is 60, I'm like 300. Okay, which is not right. I'm not saying it's right, but sometimes you need it. But no, it doesn't give you the excuse to. The only reason I stop at a light is because of a ticket. I'm just worried that I'm gonna get a ticket. If there was no ticket given, I would just run over a red light and just get to work. So that's what Uthman is trying to say. He's trying to say there are things that cannot be prevented by the Quran. Like when you tell people, مثلا if someone robs a bank, what's gonna happen? That's a good thing, man, if we could rob it. No, astaghfirullah. We're on camera now. If he robs a bank, he's gonna go to jail, correct? What if the law says if you rob a bank and you escape for 2 days, you're not going to prison? MashaAllah, everybody's gonna become a thief. We're gonna learn how to rob a bank. Why? Because what's preventing us, this is what Uthman is trying to say. He's trying to say that the law that is set by the rulers, some or most of the time, prevents people from committing haram even more than the Quran. When you tell someone, don't do that because it's haram, they'll say, okay, inshallah khair. But if you tell them, don't do that because you're going to get to prison, which one stops him more? Prison. So that's why Allah sets these rules sometimes to prevent. Like if you drink alcohol, what's the law? You can't drink and drive. Yeah? So a lot of people, if they're Muslims, they won't drink and drive because they're afraid of is it DUI or DUI? DUI, yeah? MashaAllah, how do we know? But anyway, it's in the books of driving anyway. DUI, yeah? You're afraid of that. But hold on, the Quran already told you what? Don't drink. Yeah, but because people are saved from that punishment, they don't see it, they're not prevented from doing the actions or the haram. Is that clear? So this is what he's trying to say. He said, الوازع الطبيعي عن العصيان. Sometimes things are, sometimes things just your nafs tells you don't do it. And that's why in legislative rulings in Islam, most of the hudud of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are for things that people will commit even though they know it's haram. Like what is the punishment, مثلا, legislative punishment, of course, for zina, adultery? Huh? Lashes? No. Huh? You have to differentiate. If the person is married, then what? Stoning to death. If the person is not married, then lashes. Why did Allah make such a punishment? Because those actions, even though they're forbidden, most people are going to do what? They're going to commit it. So He sets these actions. Some other things are completely haram and has no punishment. Like what? Bismillah. Eating dead meat in the street. No one is gonna like it. So Allah didn't say if you eat dead meat or even eat pig, what is gonna happen? You be punished like, no. Why? Because there is already what? Natural. You have something in you that is prevented. That's why all the hudud, all the capital punishment in Islam are related to actions that are haram, but most people commit it. If you have something that is haram and you don't have a capital punishment, then know that this is what? Part of your natural rejection to the action. And this is why the ruling comes in hand. And that's why the judge in Islam sometime cannot find a ruling for an action, so he will set, okay, because we're going to talk about ruqya. I'm just going to give you one example now. If you know of a person in your city or your area who gives evil eye, like you know that person. Taman, please let's not take my word and go apply it to everybody. Like I know somebody. No. You know somebody meaning I know somebody in one of the I need to be tricky here. In one of the states. Okay? That person is known of the evil eye. No doubt. There is not even 0.1% doubt. There is no doubt. Do you know what happened to that person? The judge where he lived, when he was in an Islamic country, I'm not going to say where, okay, set him in house arrest for 2 years. Okay, where is that in the Quran or Sunnah? That's a punishment. That person caused so much harm to people in that village and so much even to animals because of his evil eye. So the judge found no way to stop him, and nothing tells him, he doesn't have the natural rejection, he doesn't have Islamic ruling that says it's completely haram and don't do it. So the person went on and doing it. So he did what we call ta'zir, to set specific punishment to punish the individual for an action that don't have a capital punishment. Okay? Set him in, like there are a lot of rules or laws that you set a person in prison for 6 months for such a thing. Why is that? Where is that in the Quran and Sunnah? You don't find it. I'm talking about Islamic countries. I'm not talking about non-Islamic countries. So where do they get these laws from? From this qaida or this foundation right here. Tamam? Subhanallah, that brother that I'm talking to you about, he gave to a point, his level is so high, astaghfirullah, not too high in evil, then he gave evil eye to himself. He had a heart attack because of his evil eye. So that guy needed the prison for sure. Okay? طيب. So he said, وَالْوَازِعُ الطَّبْعِيُّ. Any question about that? So this is the last line. Any question? والحمد لله على التمام في البدء والختام والدوام ثم الصلاة مع سلام شائع على النبي وصحبه التابع. So we read the entire poetry. He said Alhamdulillah, all praise be it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, at the beginning and at the end always, because we finished the manzuma, all the lines are done. ثم الصلاة, and then salah upon the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, مع سلام شائع, peace and blessing be upon Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wasallam, his companions and his followers till the day of judgment. Allahumma ameen. And inshallah the brothers will give you the ijazah of the text, the poem that we narrate from our Sheikh Walid al-Munisi with my signature and the Sheikh's signature on it, inshallah. Any questions?